Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at a climbing team in the Open Ultra League featuring a pretty unexpected pick, and that is XL Bronzong. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Take It Easy, so many thanks for the battle submission. Bronzong is a Steel and Psychic type Pokemon with the moveset of Confusion, Psyshock, and Payback. And due to its interesting typing and coverage, it allows it to be a pretty nice core breaker for the current Open Ultra League meta, and this trainer had a lot of success running it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's check out Shundo Bronzong in the Open Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, leading Bronzong into Galarian Weezing. These confusions are tearing through the Weezing, but Weezing of course does have access to Overheat. We will see the Shield opponent ends up going for the Play Rough rather than go for the Overheat. In comes a Jellicent Safe Switch, and it's going to get absolutely destroyed by the Umbreon counter swap. Jellicent can spam out Surf after Surf in this matchup, but even with an energy lead for the Jellicent, this is still a dominating win for the Umbreon. As Umbreon has taken 2 serves, not even close to half HP, and now can begin to fire off these foul plays. Foul play will connect into the Jellicent, continuing to farm up a ton of energy with the Umbreon, as Jellicent will fire off another Surf. This Surf will finally get Umbreon into the yellow health. Umbreon now going for the foul play. Foul play should come very close to knocking out here, and it does. Opponent is going to send back in the Weezing, and Weezing does, as we've seen, have access to Play Rough. Play Rough will be hitting for super effective damage here, but the last resort adds up. We see a switch into the Bronzong, and the opponent firing off energy here. We see the Shield. It is the Overheat in the back. It's Greninja, and Greninja, unfortunately, is a wall to energy from the Bronzong, but the opponent is going to commit the Shield. Bronzong has a wide variety of charge moves that it can learn, so this moveset is unfortunately walled by the Greninja, but the opponent does not know that. Going for the Payback, opponent realizing that the energy is walled is going to no shield, but they are going to have to fire off another charge move. Even a resisted Payback did quite a lot of damage to the opponent, but now in comes Obstagoon, and Obstagoon, these counters will absolutely tear Greninja to shreds. Greninja goes for the Hydro Cannon. That does quite a lot of damage, and we see the Sacrificial Swap making the catch, catching the Hydro Cannon onto the Umbreon. Back in comes the Galarian Weezing, and Weezing is going to be met with the foul play. This is resisted, but Weezing is running out of HP. In comes the Obstagoon. Obstagoon with the Night Slash loaded. This is a resisted Night Slash onto the Weezing, but it will get the KO, and Obstagoon gets the farm down and takes the win. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Bronzong into Virizion. Virizion staying in this matchup to start. They're going to bank some energy and send in Tapu Fini. So far, the opponent is core broken by the Bronzong, but the unfortunate thing is they are very strong against the dark types in the back. So this matchup, despite looking really good for Bronzong, could get tricky. Able to land the Psyshock, going to no-shield the Surf, and going to be able to outpace and make it to Psyshock number 2. This will be lethal, so the opponent has a decision to make. Do they protect the Fini? No, they let the Tapu Fini go, and when the opponent sends in the third, we should see a safe switch into the Umbreon. In comes Steelix, and in comes Umbreon. Umbreon, due to the one-turn switch, is going to get outpaced by the Steelix, as Steelix will fire off the Breaking Swipe. The goal of this safe switch is to bait back out the Virizion, and there it is. This is exactly what you need to do. Bait back out the Virizion, get rid of the Virizion with the Bronzong, and then Obstagoon, it is running its Comde move of Obstruct, should be able to take care of the Steelix. Virizion is going to be firing off another Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword will connect, getting this Umbreon low. Umbreon returning fire with the last resort here. Switch clock is up, sending in the Bronzong. Bronzong, these confusions are adding up. Sacred Sword will hit for neutral here. Opponent goes for a Leaf Blade. That's how confident they were that they were going to see a shield. In comes Steelix, and Steelix is going to be met with Payback. Payback will hit for some neutral damage onto the Steelix. Steelix will commit the shield. I'm still a little in awe of that Leaf Blade. That opponent was extremely confident that was going to be shielded. Oh my goodness. Unfortunately, the Virizion is still alive in the back, and that's going to make things a bit tricky for the Obstagoon. Obstagoon is just going to be hit by Breaking Swipe after Breaking Swipe as the opponent tries to win a war of attrition. Meanwhile, Obstagoon is going to be able to buff up its defense thanks to Obstruct. Obstruct will be no-shielded by the Steelix. Steelix firing off another Breaking Swipe, but now it's going to be doing less damage due to that defense boost. Opponent sends in Virizion. We see an attempt at a catch, but unfortunately the catch is unsuccessful as Virizion fires off the Sacred Sword. Obstagoon going for the Night Slash here, not wanting to risk a no shield on an Obstruct. Night Slash will be shielded. Going for another Night Slash here. This is heavily debuffed and resisted. Is it enough to KO? No, but the Obstagoon gets the boost. And that might be what's needed to win the game. In comes the Steelix, the match timer is counting down. Will this Night Slash allow a victory? It does not KO, but the match timer ends. And with 2 Pokemon left alive, that's a win. Tricky lead in the next match, Bronzong into Giratina. But the good news is this is a Dragon Breath Giratina, and with Dragon Breath, this matchup is surprisingly playable for the Bronzong. Opponent will hit for a super effective damage with the Shadow Sneak, but the neutral confusions are adding up, and so will this payback. The thing is, if they're leading a Giratina, they probably have Pokemon in the back that can beat the Darks, so you either have to save switch into the Umbreon to lure it out, or in this case, shield the Bronzong. Down goes Giratina, opponent sends in Registeel, and Registeel is a definite problem spot for this backline. Firing off the payback, that does some solid damage, but the nice thing about this health range for Bronzong is that Registeel can't really farm down, so Registeel is forced to throw a 75 energy Focus Blast just to get rid of it. In comes the Obstagoon, Obstagoon farming up energy and going to expend the final shield, and then look to go for some Obstructs. Because after some Obstructs, Obstagoon can actually tank a Focus Blast, but the opponent switches into their Deoxys to catch the Obstruct. Of course, Obstagoon switching out resets its defense boost, but the Deoxys is switch locked in here, and their defense has been lowered. They go for the Thunderbolt onto the Umbreon. Umbreon going to return fire with the Foul Play. Foul Play going to do quite a lot of damage to the Deoxys as the Deoxys is debuffed. Umbreon continuing to farm, going for another Foul Play. At this point, the opponent has 2 shields to hide behind, but they are running out of HP. They have to shield something, so they will shield up the Deoxys. Deoxys continuing to farm, maybe looking to save a bunch of energy and switch out of here. We're going to see the switch into the Registeel, and Registeel is going to be met with the Foul Play. Foul Play will not KO, but again, this is an awkward health range for the Reggie, where Reggie is going to have to throw energy here, and its cheapest charge move that it runs in its typical set is the 75 energy Focus Blast. So now Obstagoon can come in, get the full counter down. Deoxys, all the energy in the world, but it's not going to matter. Obstagoon is just too healthy. Night Slash takes down Deoxys and takes the win. Picking up a positive lead in the next match, Bronzong into Tapu Fini. Bronzong does have an advantage in this matchup as it is able to win the 0 shield and the 2 shield. Bronzong is going to be firing off the Psyshock. Psyshock will be no shielded by the opponent. Bronzong continues to farm. Opponent is going to fire off their charge move on alignment, and that is really unfortunate for the opponent as they've just given Bronzong 12 free energy. Opponent does make a nice catch to the Psyshock onto Skeledirge, but Skeledirge is not going to have a great day going up against Umbreon. Even though they do have the coverage move of Disarming Voice, the bulk of Umbreon means this is an extremely unfun situation if you're the Skeledirge. Umbreon going for the Foul Play, we see a slight undercharge, and we see a shield from the Skeledirge. That is a surprising shield, just because Skeledirge, unless they double shield, is not going to be able to make a play for switch. Umbreon able to make it to another Foul Play, and put the opponent in a really awkward position. Opponent is going to let that through. They actually are able to save the Skeledirge with a fraction of HP and send back in the Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini will get the knockout with the Surf, but in comes Obstagoon. I love this play. Obstagoon is going to get a massive amount of farm. This should just be a Surf from the Fini, but choosing to shield it up, so that way you can preserve a lot of health on the Goon. Opponent in the back, they have Charizard, and going for the Obstruct. Obstruct, as we've seen, does almost no damage, but the boost that it gives to the defense of the Obstagoon is quite nice, especially when you're going up against a powerful charge move like a Blast Burn from Charizard. Opponent goes for the Blast Burn. Obstagoon able to tank that pretty comfortably and return fire with the Night Slash. Night Slash will be no shielded by the opponent. Obstagoon gets the boost. Oh my goodness. Opponent able to make a catch of the Night Slash onto Skeledirge, but I don't really see that helping them here. In comes the Charizard. Charizard is going to throw energy, and you can just let this go, and one confusion from Bronzong is going to ensure victory. Bronzong sees an amazing lead in the next match as it's going up against Venusaur. Venusaur staying in this matchup, so the opponent must be core broken by the Bronzong. Opponent firing off their charge move on very nice timing here, but whatever they throw is going to be resisted. They go for a Sludge Bomb. Frenzy Plant is definitely better in this matchup. Frenzy Plant is going to hit for single resisted instead of double resisted, but either way, even if they go double Frenzy, Bronzong can just confusion all the way down. In comes Greninja. We see a pivot into the Umbreon, and in the back, the opponent has Shadow Machamp. Sorry, a regular Machamp. That's a bit of a surprise to see a regular Machamp. Most of the time when you see Machamp, it is going to be the Shadow, but in this case, it is the regular Machamp. Machamp will be hit with the Last Resort. Umbreon farming up, going for it, Last Resort number 2. This will not KO, but Machamp, running out of HP, is actually going to no shield here. That's a bit of a surprise. In comes the Bronzong, and Bronzong does not get the confusion through that it's supposed to. That's extremely unfortunate, as now the opponent is able to make 2 moves as the Machamp. Really not ideal, but the confusion thankfully is able to finally go through, KO the Machamp. In comes Greninja, going for the payback. Greninja commits the shield, and Greninja's about to be in a world of hurt as this Obstagoon is running Obstruct. Hydro Cannon is shielded, and if you're the Obstagoon, yeah, you just go for the Comde move of Obstruct. It does almost no damage, but it buffs up your defense, it debuffs theirs, and the opponent shields it as well. So unfortunate for the opponent. That Hydro Cannon now just does absolutely nothing. And Obstagoon can very comfortably secure a knockout here with the Night Slash. And it looks like the opponent may have just closed their app, and that's game over. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Bronzong into Tapu Fini. Again, this is a pretty good matchup for the Bronzong, so Bronzong has no problem staying in here. Tapu Fini is going to strike first, going for the Surf. Surf, not a problem for the Bronzong. Bronzong is going to return fire with the Psyshock. Psyshock is going to be getting this Tapu Fini into the yellow. Tapu Fini continuing to farm. Tapu Fini fires its energy as soon as it gets it, so we see a catch onto the Umbreon. That's why throwing your moves as soon as you get them on alignment, definitely not ideal, because then your opponents can just catch them like Take It Easy just did. Charizard is going to fire off the Blast Burn. This is the Shadow Charizard, which means it's going to deal massive damage, but take a lot of damage in return. Foul Play is going to be no shielded, but the second Foul Play will just KO unless the opponent commits the shield. And they probably want to get more value out of this Charizard, so we will see a shield from the opponent. Opponent is going to farm up a ton of energy here. Can a Blast Burn KO the Umbreon? No, Umbreon refuses to get KO'd. Able to hang on, make it to the last second Foul Play. That will be shielded. We now see a switch into Obstagoon. Obstagoon, this Shadow Blast Burn is going to hurt. We do see the shield. Oh my goodness, the opponent baits, but they're not able to make it to the Blast Burn. Obstagoon, Night Slash is going to secure the knockout. Opponent still has that Tapu Fini, but the Tapu Fini is very low. They send in the Tapu Fini. Fini, oh man, and we see a switch. They catch the Night Slash onto Walrein, and Walrein is not going to have a good time versus the Obstagoon. So the opponent did save that Tapu Fini with energy in the back, potentially to try and make it to a Surf versus the Bronzong. And now we're going to see Obstagoon going for that Obstruct, boosting its defense, able to tank the Earthquake, and Obstruct paying dividends in these matches. And now we see the switch into the Umbreon as the opponent fires off the Icicle Spear. In comes the Bronzong. Bronzong leaving with the Psyshock. Tapu Fini is just going to get cleanly KO'd by the Psyshock, and the winning continues. Hopping to the final match, and we've got a bonus battle here, still featuring the Bronzong and Obstruct Obstagoon core, but this time with the Obstagoon on the lead, and the bulky Pokemon as the third instead of the Umbreon is now going to be Cresselia. Shadow Claw Giratina staying into Obstagoon means they've got to be core broken, so Obstagoon is going to go for the Obstruct, buffing its defense while debuffing the Giratina. So Giratina now in an even worse position as they go for the Dragon Claw. Opponent now going to send in Steelix, so they are absolutely core broken by the Obstagoon on the lead. Obstagoon says, you know what, I'm going to buff my defense a second time as it goes for Obstruct number 2, and this Obstagoon is now going to be really difficult to remove from the field. Night Slash will connect. Oh my goodness, the HP of this Steelix getting absolutely melted due to that defense drop from Obstruct. Breaking Swipe connects, lowering the damage output from the Obstagoon, but Obstagoon will still be able to deal some nice damage with the Night Slash, and now we see a switch into the Bronzong. Bronzong looking for the Confusion farm down, Steelix able to hang on, does make it to the Earthquake, but Bronzong able to withstand that damage. In comes the Giratina. Giratina going to be met with a payback here, and this is going to hurt. Opponent, no shields, and oh my goodness, they are very, very low on health now. They have a ton of energy though. Do you just send in the Obstagoon? No, sending in the Cresselia. Cresselia is going to no shield here. Giratina goes for the Dragon Claw, continuing to farm up with the Cresselia. We see the switch into the Obstagoon at the last second to catch the move. And it's a Shadow Force from the Giratina, and the opponent concedes the match. All in all, I don't think I've seen Bronzong used in the Ultra League in quite some time, and it honestly looks like a really solid anti-meta option in the current Open Ultra League meta. In a meta where Virizion, Tapu Fini, Toxicroak is just absolutely everywhere, Bronzong, with that unique Steel and Psychic typing, is a Pokemon that not a lot of people are really accounting for when it comes to team building, so he can definitely catch some teams off guard. And as this battler mentioned, they were able to have some very nice success while running it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.